the government plan is reckless and irresponsible because they're shutting down the Coast Guard Station in the busiest harbour in Canada. It's been here for 50 years. It's saved thousands of lives over that 50-year period. And today they've decided, at a stroke of a pen in Ottawa somewhere, we're simply going to close it down and leave people at risk out on the water. And that's just unacceptable to us. And this week there was a government report written by their own government saying that casualties would happen if they closed it down.
So Jim, I mentioned that you're there right now. You're part of the occupation. What are you guys hoping to achieve by being there and staging this occupation?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious that the government isn't listening. Because if they were listening, they would have heard the people of BC who don't want this closed. Certainly the people of Vancouver. So we're hoping to open their ears up. We're hoping to send a very strong message that we're not going to let this station close. This is a safety issue. This is about life and death. And the people in this station take care of the people on the water. And we're not going to let that close. And we want them to get that message loud and clear. Particularly the BC Conservatives, the MPs from this province who need to stand up for us.
Well, it seems like you're speaking on behalf of a lot of people there. Who else is there with you today?
Well, in here today are pleasure boat owners, and there are tens of thousands of them in British Columbia, but certainly thousands and thousands in the Lower Mainland. Fishermen who make their living on the coast and work in the economy. There were earlier tugboat operators that were here as well. So the broad range of the users of the services out here of the Coast Guard. And that's who's here protesting. And we're all united. There's no confusion on our side. We know that people will die if this isn't fixed.
Have you got any reaction yet?
No, the government. We haven't got any reaction from the government. We've had over 300 letters of support. We've had phone calls from across the country saying, keep it up. We're really with you because actually this isn't an isolated event. Of course, thousands and thousands of people are losing their job. But for me, this is a symbol of the kind of Canada we want. This Coast Guard station takes care of Canadians in trouble. That's the kind of country we built all across the country. And by cutting services and healthcare and in social services and food safety and all of those other services that we're cutting, we're really saying to Canadians, we're no longer going to have the country that cares. And my Canada cares, my Canada has Coast Guard, and we're going to fight for that because it is about the future of the country.
Jim, what reason did Ottawa give you for shutting down that Coast Guard station?
They believe that a Coast Guard station about 40 minutes away can solve the problems and deal with the busiest harbour in the country. It's a ridiculous concept. The real reason is they've simply given all these tax cuts to corporations, and at the end of the day, they're now going to start cutting the budgets back. They're not just closing this station, they're closing the 3 communication stations that monitor the airwaves and send people out to be rescued in the province as well. So it's a ridiculous, foolish decision. In this case, this station costs $900,000 a year to operate. It's a rounding error on a federal budget.
Jim, an occupation is one thing, but what's the next step for you?
Well, I think that we're going to take the call directly to James Moore and to the Conservative MPs. Our ask is very simple. Please come to the Coast Guard and spend an afternoon. Simply come down here and talk to the people that work here, hear their stories, hear what they do, take the boat around to Richmond, see how long it takes to get out here to help people if we close down this station. And at the end of that, you can say to yourself in good conscience that we should close all this down, then we will truly be amazed, and maybe the next election will decide whether you were right or wrong. But I can't believe if they came here and talked to the people we have, even for an afternoon, that they would have to reverse this decision and admit it was a mistake.
Well, Jim, we're going to keep an eye on this story, and I want to thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us.
Well, thank you for caring about this story.